Well, Friba, it is so great to have you here on the Formidable podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Emily, for having me.
Absolutely. I'm hoping you can just kind of take us back. You grew up in Kabul. I'd love to just get a better sense from you. What was your childhood like? What was school like for you when you were just a young girl?
When I was a young girl in Afghanistan, I had a lot of energy. I was like a ball of fire and nonstop, and just wanted to live my rules. Didn't listen to anybody. I never took a no for an answer. So I had a lot of energy. And I have a big family. I have four brothers and I have two sisters. So in my family, I was also the most bold one and also the most, the person with the most the energy. Uh, and I always want to do something special for myself and also for other women in Afghanistan. So I was like, there's a, I have to do something about the justice, the gender inequality in Afghanistan to first of all, um, to fight for myself, like fight for my rights and for equality at home. And my sisters, my brothers, everybody in the family used to call me the rebel in the house, yeah. And my mother used to call me that the child who drove her crazy. So yeah, I was not a typical child. I was not soft, definitely not soft. It was, yeah. So I was like, basically, I was a bull in a Chinatown.
And so what did that like how did that translate? Did you have to do anything special because you were such a driven young woman? Were there obstacles that you had to overcome as a result?
Yes, because of the gender inequality and just what happened to girls in Afghanistan, even when I was a child, that always drove me crazy. And I never accepted that. I never accepted that women are inferior to men and we are less than men. So as a child, I was bullied a lot because of my gender. And because I was outspoken, I was bold and outspoken, and I wouldn't take a no for answer. um, I was I would get bullied a lot, and I was often told that you're a girl, you can't do this, you can't do that. For example, you can't wear certain clothes in a certain way, you can't do sport, or you can't go to school. So that always bothered me, and the reason that I wanted to stand up for myself because I knew that this is wrong. I knew that this is not justice. I knew that this is discrimination even as a child. My older siblings say that when I was 5 years old, it was Eid. This is our Christmas version of holiday, like a Muslim's holiday is called Eid. And what happens in Eid is that in Eid, parents always buy new clothes for their kids. For the adults too, especially for kids, new clothes. So it was Eid, and my parents bought all the siblings clothes, fresh clothes, and I was only 5 years old. And my mother gave my brothers their clothes, and I asked, "Mommy, where's my clothes?" And then one of my brother, as a joke, he said that because you're a girl, you don't get fresh clothes. It was, siblings, how they tease each other. He was not serious about it. He would just wanted to tease me and bother me. But I didn't like that. I wrestled him, and I pinned him down, and I made him to say sorry for saying that at the age of 5 years old. And I knew back then that I have to stand up for equality. I have to stand up for myself, and my family still remembers that like yesterday. And my parents knew that I stand up for social justice and for my rights. So yeah, it's because of the discrimination, because of the inequality back in Afghanistan.
Were you the only daughter?
No, I have two sisters. One sister is older than me, and one sister is younger.
Oh, wow. And then it sounds like brothers, plural, multiple brothers.
Yes, yeah, I have four brothers.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's normal in the Afghan family. Afghans have large families and they have many kids. On average, they have like 7 or 8 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are your siblings all still back in Afghanistan?
No, no, I don't have any immediate family members in Afghanistan.
Wow, so everybody has left. Well, we'll get to that, Free, because I want to hear about your story of leaving the country. But I want to hear a little bit more. It sounds like you were wrestling your brother when you were 5 years old. So maybe your entree into sports started early. But I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got involved in sports, particularly judo, which seems like kind of a sport that might be off limit for girls, not just in Afghanistan, but in a lot of places. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got into that.
Yeah, given my energy back then and my vision and what I wanted to achieve, sport was always in my goal. Like, because sport is the best way to bring visibility to women's rights and girls' rights, and also to prove it to the society that girls are as strong and as smart as boys. So the story starts back in late 1990s. So when the Taliban ruled Afghanistan for the first time in 1990s, my family and myself, we became refugees in the neighboring country, Pakistan, especially in the province where it borders directly with Afghanistan, Peshawar. So I was a child, I was a kid, and it was then that when Laila Ali, the daughter of Muhammad Ali, she used to play, and she used to have compete. I mean, in a boxing championship back in Las Vegas. So I was a child, and we were at our refugee home or the old television, like the old glass television and cable. We were watching her competition from Las Vegas, and it really inspired me to join sport because she was very strong. She stood up for social justice, for justice for herself, and she had a strong presence, and she was confident and very bold. And I told my family members, my brothers too, that someday I will become like her. Yeah, she was my icon. She was my role model. She just inspired me, and she helped me focus on the sport. Like, I can use the sport to stand up for myself. And 9/11 happened, and then USA started invading Afghanistan in 2001. So my family returned to Afghanistan, like so many other Afghan families, Afghan refugees from the neighboring countries. And I wanted to do boxing. So I went to my high school. I talked to my sports teacher, Maliha, that I want to start playing sport. And she asked me what sport, and I said boxing. So she connected me with the Afghan NUC National Olympic Committee, and I went there, and there was no other girl, absolutely no other girl. So when I spoke with the male coach that I want to do boxing, he thought I was crazy. And also, it was the time where Afghanistan was in a very different shape and different time. It was the time that US war against Taliban just stopped. So Afghanistan was just recovering from the war, from the civil war, from the Taliban war, from the US war, from 9/11, and all that political chaos in Afghanistan. And Afghanistan was in like a ruined place. The buildings collapsed. The buildings were ruined by the rocket attacks of civil war, everything. And that was a time where I said that, oh, I want to do boxing. So my boxing coach, he trained me, but he did warn me that because there's no other girl, this will put me on the spot, and this will draw a lot of attention from the fundamentalists and from Taliban as well. Taliban were present in Afghanistan. They were just at the base. They were not in the center, and definitely they were not the de facto authorities. So he trained me a couple of times, and I was very, very happy. This was my dream. This is what I wanted to do. And one day he called me and said that he can't train me anymore because there are many fundamentalist men who wanted to hurt me for playing sport. Yeah, playing boxing, and I was the only one at that time, the only one in the entire country who woman who wanted to play boxing and do boxing. He called me and he apologized and he said that he can't train me anymore. When I insisted how important it is for my life, he said that, and I still remember, this was like many, many years ago. Uh, I still remember like yesterday, he said, n- sport is not very important than your life. This will get you killed. And he hung up the phone. To protect me, he
Wow.
did that. Yeah. And then I was in a search of a sports center where I could continue my boxing dream and sport. And then I met an Olympian actually from Norway. He was a diplomat and he represented Norway at Barcelona 1992 Olympic Games. And he was a judoka and he was a judo coach. I met him at the judo center and he introduced me to judo and he really encouraged me to do judo because judo matched my energy, my height, my body shape, everything. And the moment that I went to the judo center, I fell in love with the sport and I started it. Like the first time that I wore a judo uniform and tied my belts, I knew that this is what I wanted to do because judo is a high intense sport. It's very intense, a high performance, and you get to roll around, you get to wrestle people, you get to flip people over, you get to throw people over. So that's how I started. So this is back in 2001 and early 2002.
Okay, so you were talking about the getting into judo and how you just kind of knew that that was your sport. What was it like to train for the Olympics? Because that's not just getting to know a sport, that's becoming an expert in that sport and, one of the best in the world. So, what was that training regimen like?
The training regimen was very intense, as you can imagine. As an athlete, you must have a very intense schedule. You must follow a routine. You must train 7 to 8 hours a day. So you would get training in the morning, and then you get to train in the evening, and then you have to watch your nutrition, your calorie intake, and everything because you must be in incredible shape and the best shape. So it was hard. It was very difficult. But because I was young, I didn't feel that it was hard, but it was still very hard mentally and physically. For us and for me, it was not just the training for the Olympic, it was also being the first women from Afghanistan to compete at the Olympic Games and to represent an entire country, a nation that never sent a woman before. So in addition to your physical training and day-to-day training is also this whole new idea for an entire nation and for millions of people, that something that they never done anything. So imagine it's like if a country is sending astronauts to space, it wasn't that big deal. It still is a big deal. uh, but you have to show up for your training if you want to be successful. So I did. I followed my coach's instructions, the training, the routine. And just before the Olympic Games, we were sent to Greece 3 months before the Olympic Games so we can advance our training, so we can train and prepare for the Olympic Games. So overall, it was an incredible experience, but it was hard physical training, mental training, and also the responsibility to represent your country as the first women. We were two women in the Olympic Games, myself and a runner. The runner was a sprinter. She ran 100 meter because my competition was before her. So that put me on the record with the IOC International Olympic Committee that I was the first woman from Afghanistan to enter Olympic Games. So I guess I got lucky with the schedule there. But we were two. I'm one of the first one, but it is also technically correct to say that I'm the first one because that's how the IOC kept the record as well. And after my competition, as soon as I finished my competition, there were staff and coaches took my uniform immediately and they put it at the IUC museum and they put the record as the first woman from Afghanistan. Yeah, so my uniform that I competed in, it's in the museum in I think it's in Lausanne,
Wow.
Switzerland. Yeah.
How amazing. That's
Hmm.
that's so cool. So what was it like the competition? I mean, what was your experience being in the Olympic Village and, kind of part of the whole Olympic experience? What was that like for you?
It was great. I enjoyed the conversation with the other athletes. I still remember like yesterday. Um, there were funny moments as well because it was all over the news that there are two women from Afghanistan. So other athletes would recognize us and would recognize me. So they would come to me. I remember many American athletes from the US team, different teams, the basketball team, the wrestling team, the judo team. They came to me and they were very excited to meet me. The media was paying attention. Media was very interested. We had press conference almost every day at the Olympic Village almost every day. BBC was there, CNN, all the major channels, and it was the greatest thing ever happened to me or ever could happen to everyone. Um, yeah, people would stop us, other athletes would stop us at Olympic Village, and they would take picture with us, with me and with my teammates. They they recognized the Afghanistan flag. A lot of athletes did not know from other countries where Afghanistan was. So we had those conversations. We told them about our geographical location, about our culture, about training. So it was the biggest thing. I still remember that day when we departed for Greece at the Kabul International Airport. So we wore our national uniform, the Olympic team uniform. We were five athletes, two girls and three boys, and our coaches and delegates from the Afghan NOC. And my family and other athletes' families also came to see us off at the airport. And there was a press conference, local journalists and also international journalists. There were also some kids that they came to see us from school. And believe me, the experience of that, it was like astronauts being sent to space. It's like if you're going to the moon at the very, very first time. It was very interesting. I remember that my father supported me, and my father said good luck to me. My sisters were there, my brothers were there. Yeah, I think it was very historic. It was very important as well for Afghanistan to be seen because, as I mentioned, for us and for me, it was not just the Olympic, it became a women's rights movement. It became human rights movement. It put Afghanistan back on the agenda of the sports world because when the Taliban ruled in 1990s, um, Afghanistan was banned from the Olympic Games, from Sydney 2000 Olympic Games, because of the human rights violation. Violation. So Afghanistan going back to the Olympic Games 4 years later and sending women, that was a huge deal. It brought back Afghanistan at like Olympic Games and the sports arena.
Wow. What an experience, Friba. That's incredible. So what was it like when you got back to Afghanistan from Greece? What was was there a big welcoming committee? Did you feel welcomed back? What happened kind of immediately after your return?
Yes, there was a welcoming community. There were kids from schools. My sports teacher came to see me at the airport. There was a big sports conference, press conference, and there were a lot of the local media, the parents and the family members of other athletes as well. Um, because it was becoming a human rights movement, women's rights movement, and yeah, we received a very warm reception and welcoming at the airport.
And then what happened after that? So you get back from the Olympic Games, you're on this high, things are really amazing. At some point that must have changed because you did end up leaving the country. What was that the years afterward like for you?
Can you please repeat this question?
Yeah. So what was life like in the years after you got back to Afghanistan? You were living there after the games until 2010. How did things change and why did you decide to leave ultimately?
Well, very honestly speaking, the Olympic was the best and the worst thing that happened to my life. The best because I'm honored, I'm still honored to represent my country and have the title of the first woman and to have the title of Olympian. But also it brought a lot of attention, drew a lot of attention on me. And this was because nobody has done that before, so that put me on the spot as well. And it drew a lot of attention from the fundamentalists as well, from very religious fundamentalists, from the Taliban as well. When I returned from the Olympic Games, I went into hiding for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was very unsafe and very dangerous. My family was receiving a lot of death threats. I was receiving a lot of death threats, uh, a lot of text messages that threats. People would drop like letters under the door of our home in Kabul, Afghanistan, saying that I broke the Sharia law code. I'm my this was very un-Islamic act. This was against Afghan traditionals and Afghan values and Muslim values, because I did not cover my head for the during the games, and uh, millions of people watched the Olympic Games. It was getting very dangerous. I went into hiding, and my family was under the threat as well. And I stayed in Afghanistan for a couple of months, and then life was becoming unbearable. It was very, very risky for me. I couldn't even go outside freely because I cut my hair like a boy's haircut and I dyed it red. And during my competition, I had red hair, so that picture of me red hair was published everywhere, so people would recognize me immediately. I was physically attacked when I went outside. I was verbally attacked. I was threatened physically, verbally as well, and I just told my family I can't take this anymore. I can't even go outside normally. But there were like two different people. They were like the dangerous people and the fundamentalists, but there was also like the youth and women who appreciate it, so they would come take picture and take autograph, and so there's always like celebration. But the fundamentalists as well. But I couldn't bear the risk anymore, and I couldn't stay in Afghanistan anymore. Then so I went back to Pakistan, and I became a refugee again in
Wow.
May of 2005. Yes, and I lived in Pakistan for a couple of years, and then I went to Afghanistan back in 2008. While I was in Pakistan, I worked for a German NGO called Welthungerhilfe Hilfe to support myself and to support my family in Pakistan and back in Afghanistan as well. And then I went to Afghanistan in 2008, and I was there temporarily, and I thought like maybe this time things will be better, maybe because people are forgotten about the Olympics. I changed a lot. I grew my hair. I'm older now. I don't compete like that anymore. But no, people still recognize because whenever I competed, I also advocated for women's rights. I always spoke out about the patriarchy and misogyny in Afghanistan. So people will not forget that. And I was between 2008 and 2010. I was going back and forth between Afghanistan and Pakistan to just to be safe.
Wow. Wow. And when you were going back and forth, did you have to maintain residences in both places and um, like actually live physically in Pakistan sometimes?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like back and forth, constant back and forth.
That had to be stressful.
Very
Yeah.
stressful, especially because I was younger. So that was a while ago. I was younger, and it was too much, a lot for a young person to manage, to just to stay alive.
Absolutely. So then you ended up heading to Canada, correct?
Yes.
And that was 2010?
Yes. In 2010, I went to USA first. I was in Seattle area, and then I went, yeah, Bellingham, Seattle, Whatcom County, and then I came to Canada.
So talk about choosing to go to Canada and, kind of a little bit about the early days of coming from Afghanistan to live in Canada?
Sorry, there was a tiny disconnection
Oh,
in the
sorry.
voiceover.
No, it's okay. Talk a little bit about moving from Afghanistan to Canada and what that transition was like for you.
Oh yeah. So I came to Canada as a refugee. Canada was very nice. Canadians are very, very nice. Nice community. Everybody is very tolerant. Everybody is very diverse. Everybody is very, very nice about everything. And I still believe that coming to Canada was the best choice and best decision I made. The transition was definitely difficult to immigrate to a new country, to integrate into the society, community, culture, system. It takes time, and especially someone who has gone through so much at a young age. So I had PTSD. Uh, Very difficult times, but I managed to come to Canada in Vancouver, and I loved here. As soon as I arrived to Canada, I enrolled myself at a university. I applied to both, yeah, Simon Fraser University and UBC, University of British Columbia, and I got accepted at both places, and I chose to go to UBC. So I went to UBC. I started studying UBC in 2012, and I graduated with a degree in political science in 2016. Yeah, life was great. Canadians are great. Nobody asked me where are you from. Nobody asked me why you came to Canada. Nobody asked me like, oh, you have an accent. Everybody was so nice, especially whenever they heard that I'm from Afghanistan. They would welcome me. They would support me. They all asked me, how can I help you? Welcome to Canada. Yeah, I am very grateful being here, and it's because of Canada and generous Canadians that made it possible for me to live in Canada and become the person who I am and pursue what I wanted. And honestly, I think Canada is heaven. One of the first things that I did when I came to Canada was that as soon as I arrived, because I live in downtown Vancouver, I rented a bicycle. And I went to Stanley Park, and I went really, really fast over the speed limit. And I said that to myself that who says heaven doesn't exist?
I
Yeah.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is so beautiful there. It is so beautiful there. Well, I love hearing that. So let's just talk about Afghanistan now, and some of the work that you're doing through your organization, Women Leaders of Tomorrow. Maybe tell us a little bit about Women Leaders of Tomorrow and what you're doing, and then we can talk a little bit about sort of the state of women's lives in Afghanistan as well.
Sure. So I started formally. I started Women Leaders of Tomorrow in 2019, and then we incorporated the organization in March of 2021. I founded the organization, and our domain name is womenleaders.ca, because I always want to do something for Afghan women for their education and sport, because both played very important role in my life, and I want to give this opportunity to all the other Afghan women. So it's a registered nonprofit society in British Columbia, and we're also registered federally. Our mandate is to empower Afghan women through education and sports. We have educational programs, we have sports program. We have educational program for post-secondary education, secondary education, and online classes and educational programs for women and girls in Afghanistan. And we have the sports program. The sports program's name is GOAL, GOAL, which stands for Girls of Afghanistan Lead. And I came up with the idea goal because it's sporty, it's very motivating, it's positive, and also it has the name of Afghanistan, girls, leadership, and everything. That and our scholarship program has been very successful. So for the scholarship program, what we do is that we receive applications from Afghan women and girls from Afghanistan, and then we vet them. We process their application. When they meet our qualification criteria and requirements, we match them with the scholarships at different schools in Canada. So I work with the independent and private high schools and partner with the universities as well in Canada. So yeah, for secondary schools, we have partnered with many great schools like Shawnigan Lake School is in Shawnigan, Glenline Norfolk, St. Margaret's School in Victoria, and two independent schools in Vancouver, Crofton House as well as York House. So these are really, really good schools. Some of them are co-ed, some of them are girls only school. And with the universities, we partner with UBC, Laurentian University, Cape Breton University in Sydney, Nova Scotia. And we recently started a new partnership with University of Regina, and I will talk a little bit more about that as well. So up to date, we have been able to secure 28 full ride scholarships for 28 Afghan women. Yes, from 28, 27 of them are currently in Canada. They either graduated from high school or secondary education, or they're graduating this year. And I'm expecting six new students tomorrow to arrive from Afghanistan to Canada. All will be going to high schools, to different high schools in British Columbia. And we have three master's degree students coming in mining and geology going to UBC. And
Wow.
we currently have 10 students in interdisciplinary mining and geology at UBC. And we have three master's degree students at Laurentian University who are studying mining and geology. And we have two athletes in the program. One of the athlete has graduated in June. She went to Loyalist College, and the second one is still at school. She goes to Cape Breton University in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and she's studying sports and leadership. Yeah. So we partner with different institutions. For some of them, like high schools, they provide the full ride scholarships. But for universities, we do the fundraising. For example, yes, we are in the middle of a fundraising for Project Resilience. It's a program at University of Regina that they have created back in 2022 for scholars at risk or students coming from very difficult circumstances, like when the war started in Ukraine. Now we are partnering with them to support a large number of Afghan female students who are stuck in Qatar. They were under scholarship at the American University of Afghanistan, and the funding was 100% funded by the USAID. When the USAID got defunded by the current administration, their scholarships were terminated overnight, and they were at risk of being sent back to Afghanistan slash Taliban. So they contacted me, and I'm still in contact with those female students in Qatar. And I partnered with University of Regina to bring as many as of those students possible. So we are in the middle of uh, fundraising now. Our initial target was to raise $500,000 to support 560 students at international rate. And in the last 2 weeks, we surpassed that. We are about $600,000 now. Yeah, and
Congratulations. That's
thank
amazing.
you, thank you. And our goal, our new goal, the target is 1 million, and I believe that we will reach 1 million soon.
I believe it too. You seem like you cannot be stopped. Friba. No, that's such an amazing story. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Afghanistan right now for girls and why it was so dangerous for those girls who were in Qatar to go back. What's the status for women and girls in Afghanistan right now under the Taliban?
Since the Taliban have since the Taliban have returned, they banned education above third and sixth grade. They have also banned sports, gyms, sports centers, or any recreational centers, as well as employment for women and girls, except a few employment like cooking or sewing for women, especially any employment that involves women's education degree, science or mining and geology or computer science. It's banned. And when we say banned, it's not just a ban. There have also imposed strict punishment. So women will be punished if she goes to school or goes to work, have an employment. The punishment consists of like flogging, imprisonment, torture. It's severe, it's grim, severe, and beyond comprehension what they're doing. The Taliban have also introduced and imposed mahram. That's a male guardianship for women. So a mahram means a guardian or chaperone, and a mahram can only be brother, father, or husband. So if a woman wants to go outside for grocery shopping, medical appointment, or just go outside to see her friends, she must be accompanied by a mahram. And the Taliban are patrolling. They're monitoring women's movement and people's movement on the cities, on the streets, in the bazaar, in the market, and they will also specifically monitor women if she has a mahram, where she's going, who she's talking to. And recently, there have been a lot of news that the Taliban just abduct people, women, and kidnap women off the street and put them in their vehicle, in their vans, and take them to the detention center. And they disappear. They disappear because Afghan women and Afghans in general, they have nowhere to appeal to. Who to appeal to? Taliban or the de facto authorities now, and they have monopoly over violence and control. So they are the justice system now in Afghanistan, and the Taliban's justice system is based on Sharia law, and a Sharia law that has been practiced 400, 500 years ago. For example, if woman has a physical relationship outside of her marriage or before marriage with a man, she will be stoned to death. And there's corporal punishment. Taliban still hold public executions at the sports stadiums. Taliban still flog women if she wears a colorful dress outside or if she wears a heel outside, especially if it makes a noise, a sound when she's walking. She will be flogged for that. If a woman shows a little bit of hair and maybe a little bit of skin around her ankle, when she's walking outside, she will be flogged for that. So the situation is dire, devastating, beyond authoritarian regime and beyond comprehension. It's the most brutal system and regime could ever exist in human history.
So, what can be done about this? So, you're doing, your part to rescue some of these women from this what sounds like just absolutely unimaginable circumstance, but you can't do it all. So, what needs to happen, Friba, in order for women to have a chance in Afghanistan?
Listening and working with Afghan women directly. First of all, as non-Afghans and Western women, I recommend everybody to recognize an Afghan woman, recognize and respect where she's coming from, what she has gone through, and then work with her, whatever it is. We have a campaign and social activity that's called hashtag Walk with Afghan Women. So we want our allies and friends to work with us and to walk with us and to talk to your lawmakers, talk to your congressperson, talk to your MPs, ministers, anybody in the lawmaking, that they should not forget Afghanistan because U.S. was heavily involved in Afghanistan, and U.S. Decided to withdraw all its troops, and they also inspired and told other NATO countries to withdraw as well in 2021. And a lot of Afghans and myself and my family knew what will happen after USA withdraw its all troops and supports and resources from Afghanistan. Everybody saw and predicted the Taliban's return once the US left. So there's a lot that can be done. It's not impossible. Um, the NATO countries are responsible for Afghanistan. They have an obligation to support Afghan women, and the NATO countries own Afghan women and Afghan girls in education because they knew if they withdraw, the Taliban will return and they will ban education for women. And because of their withdrawal, there are millions of girls out of school, not access to education, healthcare system, or food even food these days. So we have to hold our lawmakers accountable. We need to write about U.S. foreign policy. We must be aware what's happening and always stand by Afghan women. Just today on the news, I saw that the current administration and the president has withdrew or ban $5 billion in foreign aid. We need the Americans and our allies in the U.S. to hold the president accountable and to stop this from ban and from withdrawing, because that impacts millions of people's lives, because those funds go towards people's education, vaccination, food program, relief programs, other medication like Doctors Without Borders, other medical program like other hospitals are also like WFP World Food Program. So it matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That's really striking, Friba, and really appreciate the activism and the call to action there. Um, what what would you like to see um, happen, say 10, 15 years from now in Afghanistan? What's kind of the best case scenario?
It's hard to predict, but I would like to mention that Afghanistan has a large population of youth. According to the United Nations, they say that 60% of population is under the age of 30. So that's a lot of young people. Yes, and young people are enthusiastic, they're progressive, and they're tech savvy, and now they're using digital world and internet to make Afghanistan a better place and so fight for social justice, human rights. I believe that if we keep supporting these young minds and young people, in 10 or 15 years, Taliban will be gone, and the young people now, the youth, will be the leaders of tomorrow. This is why I work day and night, like I'm literally on call, supporting six young people from Afghanistan, because I have hope in them. I see a bright future in them. I have no hope from the previous generation in Afghanistan. I have certainly no hope from the Taliban or the warlords in Afghanistan, but women and youth are definitely the future. As I mentioned, it's hard to predict, but we can support certain groups, the resistance group, women's group, youth, to help them shape the future of Afghanistan.
Absolutely. Just love hearing that. So, Freba, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to speak to, or any other messages that you wanted to share?
No, just thank you so much for listening to me, for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate it. You did a really good job, and you did your job for like including me in the conversation, listening directly from an Afghan woman. Thank you so much. I always suggest to all the hosts of podcasts and interviews that always invite an Afghan woman whenever there's a discussion about Afghanistan, because nobody knows Afghanistan than the Afghan women themselves. Just thank you so much. If you could share the Project Resilience link on your website and your blog and podcast, that would be fantastic. That would be very helpful.
We will absolutely do that, and we'll put it in the show notes when we do the podcast as well. Well, Freba, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and thanks for all that you are doing. It's really incredible work.
My pleasure speaking with you. I'll stay in touch. Thank you.